Today we have another radio which is new to me. This time it's the Team Lancaster. Yes, they do have the knob. Looks a bit tatty. I've been waiting now for a few days for a circuit diagram to arrive. It's lucky people other than me have got circuit diagrams. Oh yes. So I'll be able to make up an alignment chart, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, looking inside the radio, we've got one of those, what I think are awful 3-crystal synthesizer arrangements. A bit like you see on the ICOM and the DNT. And although these are later, aren't they? Something like 1989. You know, I would have thought that they'd moved away from the general purpose Motorola synthesizer, you know, more towards the Sanyo LC7137 and subsequent devices. So you've got the 10.24 reference oscillator crystal and its appropriate trimmer there. So what we'll need to do is to get the frequency counter on the input pin of the crystal's input pin of the phase lock loop chip and set that for 10.24, otherwise it throws out the rest of the radio. Then we've got a receive crystal which we'll have to set up with a marker oscillator, and we've got the transmit mixer crystal and its appropriate trimmer next to it. So there's 3 to mess about with, and I always think it's such a faff. The radio is basically working. I can hear it receiving right now, but it's got cosmetic problems, or physical problems with the squelch control and the volume control. So it'll be looking for a scrap chassis situation, unfortunately, because there's no spares for things like this. And I can see why some people have said the early Team products aren't that nice, and that seems to come into this category. So with that, we'll set up the frequency counter onto the input pin of the phase lock loop chip. Okay, so it's the first crystal. It's the 3rd pin on the IC. It's the test point with your frequency counter, and it's the trimmer just down there. So presumably that's the receive one and its trimmer. That's the reference oscillator 10.24. So pin 3, check for 10.24 and set it to same with the with your frequency counter. Now I'm going to set the radio into transmit, and what we'll now do is to set the frequency. That is absolutely miles out. It's 2779,210. So presumably that's going to be the mixer. It is. So I'm looking for 2779,125. Once sets like this have been screwdrivered by the screwdriver jockey, you've got quite a struggle resetting everything in the right sequence. So we've started with the reference oscillator 10.24. I've now got it's slightly high. It's 2779,135. That's neither here nor there. So that's now set. We'll worry about the receiver side of it, and as I say, I'll use a marker oscillator when we come to that. Now I'll just work out what we're doing for the receive. We'll work out what we're doing for the transmit lineup now. Okay, moving on with tuning up the transmitter. It's T10, T11, T12 and L4. So we'll go into transmit. I've got just over 3 watts, so that's a good start. I think this set's been heavily dropped on its front. about 3.5 on this test set, which is what I'd expect, to be honest. Okay, moving forward with this Team Lancaster, we'll set the deviation now. I've got the oscillator out. That's 2.5. I'll just switch the other camera on to the right hand oscilloscope. That's there. Just do the whistle test. And wallow. Yep, that's fine. If it wanted adjusting, it's RV6. RV6 is deviation. What I have discovered is because it's got a what's called a clarifier, is in effect a delta tune. And I tell you what, the way you listen to some people these days who are off frequency, you tend to need them. RV4 centralises the delta tune. Now I said we were just slightly high on the frequency when I adjusted the CT2 for the transmit mixer crystal, and that's now brought that spot on. So I've done that. So we now need to do the S meter, or the RF meter in this case, and the TX meter should be RV2, and RV2 is that one there. So I'll just tip the setup. I'm going to transmit on high power. That is correct. And then we'll check what it is on low power. Um, 550 milliwatts. Now that's interesting because I can't see how that's adjusted. No, I can't see where that is on the circuit. I presume it's preset. So we can't do low power, but everything else is set up. So we've done the 10.2 for reference crystal, pin 3 with the frequency counter on there, and adjusting the appropriate trimmer capacitor. And then we've done the transmit frequency with the CT2 on the mixer crystal there. We've tuned up the transmitter T10, T11, T12, L4. Then we've set the deviation with RV6. We've centralised the delta tune, which has trimmed the transmit frequency on RV4, and we've set the TX meter on RV2. So with that I will put it down and we'll come back with a receive video.